Milk is for babies. When you grow up, you have to drink beer. Yeah, today I'll be talking about reviewing the documentary Pumping Iron. Now, before I get to that, as you can see, I got myself a new mic. Uh, yeah, this is the one I had before, the Blue Yeti. And, it's a good mic, but, I've had for a while. I wanted to get something a little bit more smaller, more sleeker. So, putting that aside, for those who wonder about the type of microphone that I have here, I got the fine microphone. And I know I'm plugging a product here, but for those who wonder about that type of thing, maybe you want to get a new microphone or improve your videos a little bit. This arm I've had, so the microphone does attach to any arm, but yeah, it wasn't much. So yeah, I got that, and I've positioned the camera a little up on like on the monitor instead of having it down here, to change it up a little bit. And I think it looks a little bit better, maybe sound a little bit better. But with that aside, to get that out of the way, uh, let's talk about this documentary. This documentary, it depicts two competitions. You have Mr. Universe competition, which is for the more amateur bodybuilders, and you have the Mr. Olympia competition, which is for the pros. And in this documentary, it profiles some of the bigger contenders, like not just Arnold, but Lou Ferrigno, Franco, Columbo, and some of the other competitors that you would see early on, like I forgot, I have the names right here, Katz and Ken Waller, which are also profiled, and some of the famous bodybuilders at this time. And like I said, it's building up to these competitions, and that's sort of the gist of this documentary. And I know it's partly real, partly scripted, because later on Arnold admitting to making up some stuff for the documentary to make it more dramatic. And I'll mention more of that here in a little bit. But, Pumping Iron, it's really fascinating. I've always heard of this documentary, watched it for the first time recently. And like I said, it's really fascinating. And if you haven't seen, definitely check it out. I mean, to look at this time period, where bodybuilding was this big thing, and you get to see Arnold in here compete against Lou Ferrigno. I mean, you could definitely tell, like, even though there's a rival there, like there's a rivalry between these two, but they still respect each other, and that Lou Ferrigno looks up to Arnold. And it was cool to see and follow some of the other bodybuilders too, because they seemed likable. Even like some of the stuff where Arnold would talk about Franco, and I'll mention some of that here, like some of the quotes from the documentary. Now, this is the 25th anniversary special edition, and to get in some of the bonus material here, we have some features. Iron and Beyond, which explores Pumping Iron's impact on the fitness industry and Hollywood's idea of the action hero, not to mention Arnold's own movie career. You have the making of Pumping Iron, called Raw Iron, which includes outtakes and an interview reunion with the bodybuilders and director. Iron Insights, in-depth interview with Schwarzenegger, in which he finally gives surprising answers to some of the controversial questions that he's asked about the film. A video bio of Arnold. So yeah, and I forgot where I got this DVD, but it's a good DVD here. And the documentary is not long. I mean, it's about an hour and 25 minutes, so it doesn't drag on too long. But like I said, it was really interesting to look at. And, at this time, Arnold being in his late 20s, competing for his sixth title. And, but it's not just about Arnold, but again, you see Lou Ferrigno in here. And this is right before the Incredible Hulk. And, I have to mention, this is what made Arnold into a household name. Uh, this really, skyrocketed at Arnold. And if you want to say also, Lou Ferrigno would be like, he would do the Incredible Hulk a year later, so it launched, not just Arnold, but if you want to say Lou Ferrigno as well. Both had great careers. You could say, yeah, Arnold's the bigger star, but, it was really cool to see, and, really fascinating to see sort of their rivalry here in this documentary. But at the same time, you can still see they respect each other. But, talking about Arnold here, like some of the quotes here, like in the beginning where he's talking about, the feeling of a pump, working out, and he compares it to, coming. And I have a quote right here. He's like, talking about the pump. It's as satisfying to me as coming, as having sex with a woman and coming. So can you believe how much I am in heaven? I'm like getting the feeling of coming in a gym, getting the feeling of coming at home, getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose in front of 5,000 people. I get the same feeling. I'm coming day and night. It's terrific. So I'm in heaven. And then the other quote, milk is for babies. When you grow up, you have to drink beer. And then that part where he talks about, Franco. Franco's pretty smart, but Franco's a child. When it comes to the day of the contest, I am his father. He comes to me for advices. So it's not that hard for me to give him the wrong advices. And you can definitely tell, like, this is, like, you can definitely see why Arnold became such a big name, after this documentary, because you could just see early on the charisma, Arnold is giving off here, and, kind of, talking a little bit of trash, about his other competitors, but at the same time, he has a respect for him. He respects Lou Ferrigno. He respects, Franco Columbo, which I know Franco Columbo's passed. But again, just some of the stuff that Arnold would say in this documentary, it's entertaining. Talking about coming. I'm coming day and night. Coming in the gym. I can't do Arnold impression. I can't do an impression of Arnold to save my life. But and it also says right here, like talking about some of the stuff that Arnold made up, that he admitted that he had made up several stories in the movie for attention because the producers told him that, without drama, it would be boring. For example, one of the stories that he made up was the fact that he did not attend his father's funeral because of a competition, and that was going to happen in a couple of months. But he did attend his father's funeral and spoke to him shortly before he passed. And also a little note that more than 100 hours of footage was filmed. It eventually had to be edited down to 85 minutes. And however, on the 25th anniversary DVD, more footage is shown here, which I haven't really seen. The Making of Pumping Iron, Raw Iron, I haven't watched that yet. But maybe I will have to check out the features now that I've seen the documentary. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some notes here that I've written down. But I'm trying to keep this short because it's a straightforward documentary where, again, showcases and profiles the competitors here in both competitions. And early on, like some of the bodybuilders that it would follow, like, and I keep forgetting their names, Katz and Ken Waller, like these guys have families, and, you could just tell that they were really likable. And then, in between, like, it would cut kind of back and forth to Arnold and, his training, and Lou Ferrigno and, his father training, Lou Ferrigno's father was training him and getting him, prepared for this competition and giving Lou Ferrigno advice. And that was really cool to see. And I really enjoyed the narration by Charles Gaines. Yeah, I believe he did the narration. But, I thought the narration was, done well. And again, just seeing, it was really interesting and fascinating, to see, Arnold in here, competing, and Lou Ferrigno and Lou Ferrigno's father training Lou, and sort of, again, preparing for that competition, and Franco Columbo, and, it's a really fascinating documentary. And I know I keep repeating that, but, trying to come up with other words here. And I'm trying, like I said, I wanted to keep this on the short side because I want people to check this out. I can see why it's considered one of the best. And like I said, it really made Arnold into a household name. And yeah, so if you haven't seen Pumping Iron, definitely check it out. Again, it's really interesting to watch, and it's a well done documentary, with great footage, and Arnold in here, saying these funny lines, and it's also motivational. I mean, it really, if you want to say, gets you motivated, to not, I mean, yeah, you can joke about some of the pump and some of the stuff that Arnold would say, comparing pumping, to coming, but even with that aside, I mean, it's also motivational. I mean, like you put your mind to it, you can do anything. As cliche as that sounds, but look at Lou Ferrigno. Born with an ear infection, and he's made a great career, with the Incredible Hulk and much more. And look at what Lou Ferrigno has been able to accomplish. Look at Arnold, what he's been able to accomplish, and some of the other people here in this documentary. But anyways, I'm just rambling on here. But yeah, that's my review of Pumping Iron. Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't seen. But thank you for watching my review of Pumping Iron. And next, for the Arnold-thon, I think I'm talking about the villain. So I'll be reviewing that. But thank you for watching, and have a good day.